Hi, this is Carolyn McCrae, and this is day 0 of So You Want to Write a Short Story, which is fantastic because I want you to write a short story. What we're going to do today is get you ready for the writing process. First off, if you don't understand POV, story structure, character arc, passive voice, you really should go and look at those modules first so that you're completely ready. Today is more about getting your physical space and your mental space prepared to go ahead and write tomorrow. First off, you need to decide what genre you're going to write in. Usually that genre is what you like, meaning what do you read, what do you watch, go to the movies for. That's probably the genre that you want to write for your first one. I do advocate that you write 5 to 10 short stories, and those should be all different. But this one, let's go with your wheelhouse, the one that you really like the best to start with. Next, you probably need a title. You may figure that out later. That's all right. You also need to think about who your main characters are going to be. Your hero, your love interest, your sidekick, your magician. If you're not familiar with those terms, go check out the Players module. It'll teach you all of that. Basically, how I do characters, naming them, is I figure out their ethnicity first. So I know the genre, I know the ethnicity, and then I go and look that up. Is it Ethiopian? Is it Native American? Is it Irish? Go look up boy and girl names for that. The weirder your story, probably the more common your name. The more common your story, probably the more exotic your name is my usual rule of thumb. And you can also do this on the fly. I just find it, especially for beginning writers, to kind of have their character name. And you can always change it, and thank God for global change, because I misspell, I forget, I change names, and I just go back into the document and do a global change for the old name, for the new name, and voila, that error is taken care of. Also, we want to kind of be thinking about how we're going to start our story. We're going to start our story with the old life, which is the life before your story intruded so rudely on their lives. Think the Matrix of Neo before Morpheus. He's bored in his room. Luke is out on the farm, bored out of his mind. If we think of Aliens, Ripley is settled into her time frame and it has a job and is just trying to get through the nightmares and try and stabilize her life. So that is the old life. That's what you're going to be thinking about starting tomorrow on day 1 of writing, or later today if you feel inspired. It's up to you, but I would recommend that you do listen to day 1's module before you start writing, just so you're on track. The other thing we're going to think about is MS Word. Now, you may be an occupied Microsoft, you hate them, they're a global conspiracy, etc. It doesn't matter. Well, I mean, you can have feelings, but it doesn't matter in this instance because Word is the only program that is accepted through the professional uploading services. And I know that OpenOffice and WordPerfect can be exported into MS Word. However, there's a bunch of crap under there. There's a bunch of coding that you don't see on the screen that completely messes up your ebook. So you do need to get Microsoft Word. They now have subscriptions. It's like $8 or $9 a month. It's very reasonable, so you don't have to plunk out that $300 to $400 that you used to. Obviously, you need some kind of word processor to write in. Writing longhand, if you have to start that way, that's fine, but it's not going to work if you want to become a professional author. You just have to write faster and have it formatted properly. What I'm doing, see, I have it up at 200, so this looks really large. Don't panic. I just have it at 200. But basically, the first thing we're going to do is go up here to see this little button here. It has the reverse P. That shows you the paragraph formatting. We want that on. Once we have it on, we carriage down the return or enter key on the far right-hand side of your keyboard, usually right above your shift. And we get some nice ones. Then we're going to highlight all of this and go to Format, Paragraph. We want special first line, and the default is 0.5. That's what I use. If you want to use 0.3, some people like that better visually. Just know every time you go in to do this, you're going to have to manually put in 0.3, and I'm not that fond of that. Next, we're going to go down and go to 1.5 spaces. I know that you are used to double spacing for critique groups and for agents and publishers, but that is too big for the Kindle screen. It looks really, really weird. So for our document that we want formatted for ebook styling, we want special first line 0.5. we want 0.5 spacing lines and 0 before and 0 after, and no indentation. We only want the first line indented by the 0.5. So we hit here, and we see how everything here got moved over. This little one did not because it was not highlighted, and that's okay. So that is your normal. That is what we're going to do. This is how we type. And sorry, I'm doing one-handed. This is what it looks like. Now let's say we want our title. So your book's title, and again, I'm doing one-handed, so sorry about that. Now we're going to go up here and go to heading 1, the default heading 1, and we're going to see just how ugly that is. That is not what we want at all. So we're going to go up to format, and this time drop down all the way down to style down here. It's all hidden. And we want to make sure that we have heading 1 highlighted because it's what we're going to modify. And then we go down to the modify button. And we're going to go here and we're going to make sure it's black. It's automatic black. It should be bolded. It should only be 14. You can change this if you want. I usually have Times New Roman, but sometimes it doesn't want to work. So whatever. And we go to centered. Single spacing on this is how it works best. And we go to format down here in the bottom, the drop down menu, and then hit paragraph. And we do not want any special. We don't want it in inward carriage. Line spacing is that before we do 24 and after we do 20. And this is how, if you want spaces in between your paragraphs, you do it. You do not do multiple carriage returns. I know I have some multiple carriage returns here, but that is just for the writing process. Once we're done with the writing process, we remove all carriage returns that are empty because, again, that will mess up your ebook. So here we go. Paragraph. And now look at how pretty your book's title is. So that's what we do. Here's your properly formatted. You can start to write. Blah, 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 blah. Now, let's say we are switching POVs. If you don't know what a POV is, go listen to the POV module. Now, you never want to do your, here, let's do your, this is why I always have carriage returns under while I'm writing, is I just did my asterisks and then I'm going to highlight them. I am going to bold them. I am then going to take them over to the left-hand side just by hitting delete, I think, or backspace on a PC. And then I'm going to center them. That is what they should look like. Now watch though what I do if I need a new line. First of all, it's going to take the formatting of this down, which is a bummer. But it does that weird lightning automatic thing. So we don't want that. So you end up really messing up. So instead, I don't like that. I'm going to go here, which I have carriage returns underneath. And I'm going to do my asterisk space, asterisk space, asterisk. I am then going to highlight it. I am going to bold it, which is Command or Apple B. I am then going to go to the front of the 3 and I'm going to delete or backspace to clear that so that it is properly centered along with everything else. Now I do not return after these. I just go down to my other one and start my new POV. Okay. So that was the 3 things. The first thing we did was turned on our little paragraph thingy-majigger. We then went to format. We highlighted all of our carriage returns. We went to format. First line, 1.5 space. We also want to make sure that it is 12 font, not 14. I know some of you are used to 14. Again, for the publishing thing, we do 12. 14 is too big. Even though they can resize it, it is too big to look on the page when they first open it up. So that we make our normal here. We then can do our book title, heading 1. And remember when we first did heading 1, it was ugly. It was like this. And then we fixed it so that it was black. It was centered. It was 14 instead of 16. And we went into the format, the paragraph. We went in, we had 24 above and 20 below so that it kind of set our title off. We do not want to do multiple carriages to do that. It will mess up your ebook. Then we also like to have we do want to have some carriage returns after our writing just because it makes formatting easier. But once we, like, let's say I was about to actually put this book up for sale, I would remove all of these so that I had no extra little backwards P's hanging around. Title, normal, which is indented by indenting first line special 0.5. Here are your little asterisks, how they should look. And here is your title as it should be, changing heading 1 to this black, blocky, not this kind of ugly blue, weird, not separated, abnormal. I don't even know how that's a heading, but that's what it looks like. So if you do all of this, you should be ready to start writing tomorrow. You may have to go over this a couple of times just to understand it, to make sure that you have the formatting correct. Again, normal, the normal is 12. First line indented special 0.5, 1.5, black. Our heading 1 we changed to black, 14 point, centered, bold. We then go down and format it so it's 24 above and 20 below. We never have extra carriage returns. We don't do that except for formatting purposes. When we get done, we take all those away. And we never have tabs. This is a tab, an arrow. If you get arrows, you are tabbing, and that is forbidden. Tabs will completely and totally mess up your ebook. I mean, jack it up. I mean, it is a disaster. So you never want tabs. That's why we do the indent first line special 0.5. No tabs. You cannot use the tab button. Matter of fact, I even have some people just put a piece of tape over the tab button so that you do not hit it, that you do not, or put a dot on it so that you do not use it, because it is a disaster when you go to format. Again, you can do whatever you want. It's just you can't whine when you go to put your book up on Amazon and they reject it because the formatting is so jacked up, and they will do that. So this is the way I do it. I have 50 books up. I probably have 100 different projects up. So this is the way that works, and that you have very little effort when you go to use the professional converting tools. This imports beautifully and converts beautifully. All right, we're going to get back to getting ready to write tomorrow. Next up is your writing environment. We want to go ahead and make sure we have the best writing environment we can. That is time of day. You may be an early morning writer like me. You may be a late morning. You may be a mommy that can only do nap opportunities, writing when the babies are down for naps. Your children may be older and you can only do it when they're at school. You just need to figure out what that is, and you may experiment with that, because that is the underlying theme of the short story modules, is to experiment. Figure out the time. The location. Is home best? Some people get distracted at home. A coffee shop is better. Sometimes that's too noisy. You need a park. Whatever it is. And if something doesn't work, then just try something different. Don't get discouraged or freak out. It's okay. You know, this is the process. If you're just starting your writing or writing seriously, it may take you some time to figure out what works best for you. I can't tell you what that is. So we're going to think about our genre. Make sure we know what that is for sure before we start writing tomorrow. We're going to think about character names and name them now or later. It's up to you. We're going to figure out what time of day is best. We're going to try. We're going to get Microsoft Word. I'm going to beat a dead horse on that one. We're also going to decide, do we want music? Do we want quiet? Kind of what works best for us in the moment to write. And that may change over the next few days. If something doesn't work, try something different. Now tonight, if you are going to write tomorrow, what I do, and this is also really good for insomnia, is I strangely go through what I'm going to do the next morning, drill down, not let your mind spin and worry. Just drill down. I'm going to get up. I'm going to go to the restroom. I'm going to take the dogs out. Strangely enough, sometimes I do that in the reverse order, and then I'm out there with dogs doing the potty dance myself, and it's super awkward. So I remind myself that I go first, then the dogs, then I work out, then I do my toiletries, and then I sit down and write. Next, I think about briefly. I don't let myself go into much. I don't write the story in my head, maybe 5 minutes, just briefly about what the story is about. What is the most exciting thing that's going to happen? Why am I writing this short story? Why would a reader want to read this short story? Very broad strokes, because I'm going to let my subconscious kind of do the heavy lifting overnight and figure out some of those quandaries I might have. Again, if you're not familiar with POV, passive voice, things like that. Go do those modules before you start writing tomorrow, because I really want you to have the lingo, because I'm going to be using it loose and fast, under your belt before you start to write. I don't want any kind of performance anxiety, panic, misunderstandings when you're trying to write on your first day. We want this first day to be spectacular and awesome and get hopefully 5 pages done, or 3 or 1 or 1 paragraph, whatever you can do. If you're also feeling nervous or scared, and that's okay, then go take a look at the fear module. Just really get yourself as prepared as you can. And this may take several days. I say it's day 0 and then day 1, but really it may take you a few days to work through the fear, the kinks, figure out your story, figure out your characters, things like that. And that is totally fine. Don't let it get prolonged though. I wouldn't say more than a week of pondering. Otherwise, it's just an excuse. You're just afraid, and you just don't want to get down to it, and you're using all these other things as an excuse. So no more than a week to get ready to write your story. Let's summarize. You need Microsoft Word. Do we get that? Okay, good. You want to experiment with the time of day you write, the environment in which you write in, music, not music, things like that. You want to have your genre definitely nailed down, probably your characters before, and then the night before you write, every night before I write, I always think of what I'm going to write the next day and what I want to accomplish. And especially in regards to genre, is there action, is there not action, is there emotion, is there not emotion, things like that, kind of broad strokes. I don't want you staying up at night 3 hours. That is not helpful at all. This whole process, I'm normally asleep within 5 to 7 minutes of starting my kind of rundown for the next day. Even though it's rote, even though I do basically the same thing just about every morning, I still do this again to get myself prepared to sleep, and also to prepare myself for my writing the next day. If I have any major quandary about when I'm going to write the next day, if I'm not sure how to get out of a situation I wrote myself into, I will definitely let my subconscious handle that as well. Okay, so those are your tasks. I know some of them aren't small. What is my story about? I get it. But that's what we're going to think about. And then tomorrow, or whenever you get back to it, do day 1. Do other modules if you have to get prepared. And then we will hopefully start writing on day 1. I wish you all the best and a fantastic thinking day.